On the third day of my fair-skinned, beautiful, long-legged wife giving me the silent treatment, I lazily posted on my social feed, once I get 5 likes, I'm heading to divorce. I refreshed in the bathroom for ages, only to find our mutual friends showing extreme survival instincts, not a single like in sight. So, as her own husband, I tried to unlock the special feature of the smart screen for the feed and tapped that earth-shattering first like, then gazed out at the night sky and took a deep, fierce breath. 7. Calm, wood, mom, call out, work, small, machine, task, call, plan, code, benevolence, calm, wood, mom, wood, out, work, small, machine, task, plan, eat, at, calm, wood, work, code, time, wood, life, work, small, machine, task, core. Suddenly, I thought, perhaps the air conditioning at the marriage bureau is cooler than at home. The silent treatment between me and my wife, Evelyn, had already entered its 3rd day. What was the cause again? Oh, I remember now. 3 days ago, I was 5 stacking with my buddies. In the heat of battle, my trashuo charging in and out 7 times, happily pushing forward without a care. Just then, Evelyn suddenly messaged, "Honey, I just saw a coat that looks so good." As a result, my good buddies Rockman knocked up 5 of us, and I ended up painfully missing a pentacle, with the mournful sighs of my brothers echoing in my ears. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I replied without looking up, "Baby, don't disturb me now. I'm fighting for national glory in the game." Then there was nothing. By the time I destroyed the enemy's base and remembered to check her messages, the WeChat chat box was dead silent. I knew I was done for. Sure enough, for 3 days, it was all cold shoulders, silent treatment, and zero cooperation. Neither of us spoke a word. When I served her food, she quietly put it back in my bowl. When I tried to hug her while sleeping, she placed a demarcation line between us. A giant 1-meter-tall Pikachu plushie. I felt like I wasn't sleeping with my wife. I was fighting a national treasure for territory at the zoo. On the 3rd afternoon of our silent treatment, as I was idly scrolling through my social feed, a new post popped up, posted by Evelyn, with a photo of a gray sky and a caption that was brief yet menacing. "Once I get 5 likes, I'm filing for divorce." I stared at those words for a full minute, then couldn't hold back. I burst out laughing. Classic Evelyn. With that damn sense of ceremony, even divorce has to meet a quota. I clicked on the likes list with great interest. Empty. Not a single one. I refreshed the page. Still empty. I could even imagine our mutual friends, seeing this social feed post, their pupils shaking, fingers hovering, then silently scrolling away, each with a stronger survival instinct than mine. Time ticked by. Minutes passed, and the likes list remained as barren as my face. Evelyn probably didn't expect her social connections to be so reliable when it came to divorce. I could picture her now, clutching her phone, staring at that lonely post, stomping her feet in frustration, both maddening and amusing. I wondered if this was a step down for her, pulling this stunt. Wasn't it just to make me cave in and coax her? But am I, Harrison, the kind of person who plays by the rules? Clearly not. In my mind, a bold and reckless idea sprouted like bamboo shoots after rain, wildly emerging. What if I gave her a like? Would it fast forward straight to the series finale, or unlock some hidden, absurdly dramatic plot? Once this thought took root, it itched like a mosquito bite in summer. The more you scratch, the worse it gets. I stared at that heart-shaped button, feeling it exude a fatal allure towards me. Just one click to help her meet her target, and it would also serve as a perfect conclusion to our 3-day silent treatment. So, on that quiet afternoon, I, Harrison, Evelyn's own husband, extended a trembling yet excited finger, resolutely pressed down on that heart-shaped button, and then rubbed my hands together as if I'd failed. In the likes list, my profile picture stood alone, glowing like a monument and yet also like a tombstone. The world fell silent for 2 seconds. Then, ring ring ring, something scrambled and chaotic. A whirlwind of noise and confusion. On the screen, 3 large characters radiated an aura of death. My dear wife. I swallowed hard, feeling the cold air from the AC couldn't suppress the hot sweat breaking out on the back of my neck. It seemed I'd messed up. I took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. "Hello, is that you, dear Harrison?" A roar like a lioness erupted from the receiver, shaking my ears and making them ring. I could almost picture Evelyn on the other end of the line, her hair practically standing on end, her anger meter maxed out. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled slightly with rage. I cleared my throat, forcing a calm tone. "What do I mean? Aren't you trying to collect likes? I'm just giving you a hand. Look, you've got 1 now, just 4 more to go. Keep it up." Silence fell on the other end. A dead, suffocating silence. If silence had tears, this was definitely the champion level. I could even hear her teeth grinding. "Fine," she finally spat out after a long pause, her voice as cold as a Siberian frost. "Harrison, you're something else. Get out of the study right now. This instant. Find our household registry. You have half an hour." Meet me at the marriage bureau in 30 minutes. Whoever doesn't show is a coward. Asterisk click. Asterisk the call ended. I stood there, phone in hand, frozen in place. Wait, this wasn't how the script was supposed to go. She should have been fuming and demanding, "Don't you love me anymore?" Then I'd have softened up, and the whole thing would have blown over. How did we skip straight to the marriage bureau? This wife's temper is a bit off the charts. I was still in a daze when the study door burst open with a crash. Evelyn stood there in a black dress, wearing sunglasses that covered half her face, and clutching her Hermes bag, looking like a widow on her way to her ex-husband's funeral. "Household registry. Now," she said curtly. I couldn't help but comment on her dramatic getup. "Are you here to get a divorce or walk the runway? Anyone would think you're here to buy out the marriage bureau." Evelyn sneered. I couldn't see her eyes behind the sunglasses, but her icy aura had already frozen me solid. "Enough talk. Household registry. ID. Marriage certificate. Hurry up. You wanted a divorce, didn't you? I'll grant your wish." As she spoke, she began rummaging through drawers. Seeing she meant business, I felt a twinge of panic, but a man's pride, especially in front of his own wife, wouldn't let me back down. "Fine, let's search. Who's afraid of who?" I joined the frantic hunt. Our home isn't big, but it's cluttered with all sorts of things, especially items like the household registry that aren't used often. Who knows which forgotten corner it's been stuffed into. "Did you find it?" Evelyn turned a drawer upside down. "Not yet. Where did you put it?" I moved aside a pile of old magazines. "How should I know? Didn't you put it away?" "I did. The last time I saw it was when we registered our marriage." "Bullshit. You were the one who handled the last household move." "That was the last time. The last time was you too." We argued while rummaging, creating such chaos that anyone would have thought we'd been robbed. Finally, at the bottom of a box crammed with old delivery packages, I found those two little red booklets. "Found it." I waved the household registry in the air. Evelyn snatched it from my hand, then dug out her ID card and marriage certificate from her bag, stuffing them all inside. She turned and strode out, her high heels tapping decisively on the floor with a sharp, resounding click. Watching her retreating figure, my heart was a turmoil of mixed emotions. Things had spiraled completely out of my control. Was it too late to back down now? Could we still make peace? I opened my mouth, wanting to say something. Evelyn walked to the door, then suddenly turned back. Her sunglasses slipped down slightly, revealing a pair of bloodshot eyes. "Harrison, I'm asking you one last time. Are you really going?" Looking into her reddened eyes, my heart wavered. The words, "honey, I was wrong," nearly slipped out. But just then, my phone chimed with another WeChat message. It was from the group chat my so-called friends had made, named Harrison's Divorce Sightseeing Tour. My buddy Chunk had posted a screenshot, my like on Evelyn's social feed post. Below it, a string of comments piled up. "What a legend. R.I.P. Harrison. I'll take over your Yasuo account. Slide me Evelyn's WeChat. I'll talk some sense into her." My blood rushed to my head. The flicker of guilt I'd felt was instantly crushed by damn pride. No way was I backing down in front of these clowns. I lifted my head and met Evelyn's gaze. Why wouldn't I? Whoever doesn't go is a coward. I threw her own words right back at her. The last trace of hope in Evelyn's eyes vanished, replaced by utter coldness. She nodded without another word, pulled the door open, and walked out. I grabbed my ID card and phone, gritted my teeth, and followed along. The wind is bleak, the river cold, a hero departs, never to return. Today, Harrison he is about to undertake a great task. Evelyn Liu and I walked downstairs one after the other, with zero communication the entire way. The atmosphere was so oppressive it felt like we were marching to the execution ground. As we reached the entrance of the building, about to step onto the path to freedom, the road to the marriage bureau, a familiar voice came from the side. "Evelyn, Harrison, where are you two off to?" We both froze simultaneously, turning our heads mechanically. There stood my mother-in-law, holding a freshly caught live fish from the market in her left hand and a bag of vegetables in her right, smiling at us. Mother-in-law, Evelyn's biological mother, one of my natural enemies. Usually, she'd look at me with disdain, criticizing me for earning too little, playing too many games, and not knowing how to do housework. Running into her at this critical moment was like Mars colliding with Earth. It's over. We won't be able to get divorced now. Strangely, I felt an inexplicable sense of relief. Evelyn was clearly flustered too, taking off her sunglasses and forcing a smile that looked even more pitiful than tears. "Mom, we're just going out to take care of something." Mother-in-law walked over, her sharp eyes darting between us. She had a keen sense for trouble and could tell something was off at a glance. "What kind of business? You both look so miserable, like someone owes you $8 million. She handed the groceries to Evelyn, then fixed her gaze on me. "Harrison, tell me, did you upset our Evelyn again?" I opened my mouth, but before I could even think of an excuse, Evelyn beside me suddenly spoke up. She said, "Mom, Harrison wants a divorce." The bombshell dropped. I froze on the spot, and mother-in-law was stunned too. The fish in her hand fell to the floor with a thud, flapping in its death throes. The air froze for 3 seconds, and my mind was already racing through the next scene. Mother-in-law would fly into a rage, point at my nose and curse, then chase me around with that fish, before finally dragging us both home for a full-scale interrogation. But reality always outdoes fiction. My dear mother-in-law, after a brief moment of shock, bent down and picked up the fish from the floor. Then, pfft, ha 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 ha, she erupted into a fit of earth-shaking laughter, doubling over with mirth until tears streamed from her eyes. Just the two of you. She pointed at Evelyn, then at me, gasping for breath between laughs. Oh my, you're killing me with laughter. If you two can actually get divorced, I'll swallow this fish raw tomorrow. Evelyn and I exchanged bewildered glances, both stunned. This reaction wasn't right at all. Finally, my mother-in-law laughed herself out, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and gave us a knowing look. Enough, enough, stop the act. A little spat between a married couple, fight at the head of the bed, makeup at the foot, and now you're pulling this divorce drama. Who are you trying to fool? She rummaged in her pocket for a while, pulled out 2 crumpled 100 yuan bills, and stuffed them into my hand. Go on, don't just stand here, it's sweltering out. Go take a stroll by the marriage bureau, cool off in the air conditioning, and calm down. Buy yourselves a milk tea on the way, don't get heatstroke. Go early and come back soon. I'll be waiting for you to come home for dinner. With that, she picked up the fish and the meat, humming a tune as she headed upstairs without looking back, leaving only Evelyn and me, holding the 200 yuan, utterly bewildered in the wind. What kind of move was this? Giving money to a divorcing daughter and son-in-law, and telling them to buy milk tea on the way? I couldn't make heads or tails of this script anymore. Evelyn looked at the money in her hand, then at me, her face a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, resentment, disbelief, and a hint of confusion. Let's go. She gritted out through clenched teeth, snatching the 200 yuan from my hand, stuffing it into her bag, and striding purposefully toward the roadside. Watching her retreating figure, I felt she wasn't heading to get a divorce but to blow up the marriage bureau. I sighed and resignedly followed her. Fine, since my mother-in-law even approved the funding. This divorce was happening today, no matter what. We hailed a taxi. Where to? Lovebirds? The driver was an enthusiastic middle-aged man. Evelyn sat in the back seat, wearing sunglasses to play it cool, staring out the window without a word. I had no choice but to brace myself and answer. To the marriage bureau, please. Alright then. The driver stepped on the gas and the car sped off. After driving for a while, the driver probably felt the car was too quiet and started making conversation. Going to the marriage bureau to get a marriage certificate? Congratulations. I forced an awkward smile. No, sir, we're going to get a divorce. The driver glanced at us in the rearview mirror, and the steering wheel even wobbled a bit. Divorce? You don't look like it. Such a handsome man and a beautiful woman. So well matched. I gave a dry laugh and didn't reply. The driver took that as agreement, sighed, and opened up. Young people these days are just too impulsive. Back in the day, my wife and I talked about divorce all the time too. Her temper was way fiercer than your wife's. She'd run back to her parents' house at the drop of a hat. And I, young and hot-headed, never went to fetch her. Once it got really bad, we both showed up at the marriage bureau doors. You know what happened next? I played along and asked, what happened? We realized it was a Sunday. They weren't open. Ha ha ha. The driver was laughing heartily to himself. Evelyn and I exchanged a glance, both seeing the exasperation in each other's eyes. What's so funny about that? Sir, today is Wednesday. Evelyn reminded him coldly. The driver's laughter cut off abruptly. Oh, right, Wednesday. The atmosphere in the car turned awkward once more. After a while, perhaps feeling his example wasn't convincing enough, the driver spoke up again. Actually, between husband and wife, who doesn't argue? You just have to ride it out. Let me tell you about my neighbor. His wife spends like crazy, buying bags and makeup, burning through a whole month's salary. My neighbor was so furious he wanted a divorce too. And then, what happened next? Once again, I played the straight man. Then he found out his wife was using his money to support a young lover on the side. Ha ha ha. Isn't that just tragic? Evelyn. I could feel Evelyn's fists clenching. Was this driver here to mediate or to stir the pot? Every example he gave was more outrageous than the last. Master, could you please drive quietly for a bit? I hinted tactfully. Oh, okay. The driver finally shut up, and the car drove all the way to the entrance of the marriage bureau. I scanned the code to pay, using the 200 yuan my mother-in-law gave me. After paying the fare, I had over 180 left. As I got out of the car, Evelyn suddenly said to me, go buy 2 cups of milk tea. I was taken aback. My mom said we should buy milk tea on the way, she declared righteously. I looked at her face, which clearly read, I'm not happy, and didn't dare argue. Resigned, I ran to the nearby milk tea shop. 2 iced Americanos, please, I said to the clerk. On such a joyous occasion as divorce, we must drink something bitter to sober up properly. I returned with 2 iced Americanos and handed one to Evelyn. She took a sip and immediately frowned. Why is it bitter? You think you're getting something sweet on divorce day? What kind of sweet dream are you having? I retorted irritably. She shot me a glare but said nothing more. taking the iced Americano and heading toward the marriage bureau entrance. I followed behind, watching her back, then glanced at the 3 large characters, marriage bureau, in the distance before taking a sip of my own iced Americano. Damn, that's bitter. The marriage bureau was more crowded than expected. On the left was the marriage registration area, where young couples beamed with joy, the air practically shimmering with pink bubbles. On the right was the divorce registration section, shrouded in gloom, with everyone's faces screaming, "Keep away." Evelyn and I strode resolutely toward the right side, after taking a number. With 7 or 8 couples ahead of us, we found chairs in a corner and sat down, maintaining our dignified silence. I idly observed the people around us. One middle-aged couple started blaming each other the moment they sat down, dredging up every trivial grievance from who cooked to who took care of the kids. A young man spent the whole time glued to his phone, head down, while his wife wiped tears beside him. He didn't even glance up. Ah, the myriad faces of human life. Just as I was getting into it, an uncertain voice sounded beside me. "Is that Harrison?" I turned my head and saw a man wearing glasses, his hair a bit thinning, looking at me with doubt and surprise. I squinted for a long while, finally recognizing a hint of familiar features on his weathered face. "You're Brad. Oh my, it really is you, old classmate." Brad excitedly shook my hand. He was my elementary school classmate, the one who used to sit behind me and always copied my homework. We hadn't been in touch since graduation, and I never expected to reunite here. "What are you doing here?" we both asked in unison, then fell silent at the same time, glancing at each other's surroundings. The divorce registration office. The atmosphere instantly turned awkward. "You're here for this too." Brad pointed at the words, divorce, and lowered his voice. I nodded with a pained expression, and he sighed as well. He gestured toward a woman nearby who was playing on her phone. "My wife." I followed his direction, then shifted my gaze to Evelyn beside me and pointed at her too. "My wife." 2 kindred spirits recognized each other at the marriage bureau, creating quite a spectacle. Brad plopped down next to me and started pouring out his woes. "Qiang, you have no idea how miserable my life has been. My wife is a total spendthrift. She earns $20,000 a month but spends $30,000 on bags and clothes, and I still have to cover the difference." He pointed at his own t-shirt, saying, "See this? $19.99 from Pinduoduo. Free shipping." My wife, on the other hand, a single bag costs more than my annual salary. I glanced at Evelyn. She buys bags too, but it doesn't seem that extreme. Brad grew more agitated as he spoke, his voice trembling with emotion. "Spending money is one thing, but she's also lazy. If a soy sauce bottle falls over at home, she won't even pick it up. She never mops the floor or washes dishes, just lies around all day scrolling through short videos, laughing like a fool." I looked at Evelyn again. "Though she doesn't like chores either, she's much better. She'll help wash vegetables when I'm cooking." "That's nothing." Brad slapped his thigh, lowering his voice and leaning close to my ear. He said, "Let me tell you the most shocking thing. I suspect she's seeing someone else. Last month, I found messages on her phone where she was chatting with a man, calling him darling and even sending him a 200 yuan red envelope. When I confronted her, guess what she said? She claimed it was her newly adopted online godson. Can you believe that? What kind of godmother sends a 200 yuan red envelope to her godson?" Brad was so upset he was on the verge of tears. I patted his shoulder sympathetically, unsure how to comfort him. In comparison, my wife Evelyn, aside from being a bit temperamental and high maintenance, doesn't seem to have any major flaws. She's not wasteful, not lazy, and definitely doesn't have any online godchildren. Just as I was reflecting on this, Evelyn beside me suddenly snorted coldly. She leaned over and, aiming at the woman playing on her phone next to Brad, launched into her own rant. "Sis, what you're dealing with is nothing. My husband plays video games day and night. If I try to talk to him, he says I'm interrupting his glorious service to the nation. Even our pet cat gets more attention than I do. Sometimes I wonder if he's actually married to that hero named Yasuo." Brad and I, who were wiping away tears, both froze in place. Evelyn ignored us, and continued speaking to the woman. "You know what's the most infuriating part? To make him give in. I posted on my social feed saying I'd divorce if I got enough likes. And what did he do? He just liked the post. Tell me, what's the point of keeping a husband like that? To celebrate Qingming festival?" Brad's wife finally looked up from her phone. After hearing Evelyn's complaint, she glanced at Brad, then at me, and the 2 women exchanged a look that said, "We're both neglected souls in this world." Brad and I, meanwhile, were trembling on the side. How did this turn into a misery competition? And somehow, I feel like in this contest of misery, I might have lost even more thoroughly. After the misery competition, the atmosphere grew even more peculiar. Brad and his wife glared at each other, falling silent. Evelyn and I also sank into a new round of silence, though this time, there was less tension and more awkwardness in the air, especially after hearing Brad's tearful accusations. I glanced at Evelyn beside me, and the resentment in my heart actually faded quite a bit. Compared to those internet trolls, bringing glory to the country didn't seem like such an unforgivable crime. I stole a glance at Evelyn. She was hanging her head, unconsciously picking at the rim of her iced Americano. Her sunglasses were off, revealing slightly reddened eyes that looked a bit aggrieved. My heart softened. I cleared my throat, wanting to find a topic to ease the tension. Ahem, do you remember the first time I confessed to you? Evelyn didn't look up, just let out a soft from her nose. I was so nervous back then. I prepared for a whole week and wrote a 3,000-word love letter. But then, when I saw you walking with your academic advisor, I panicked and handed the letter directly to him. After I finished, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. I still remember the look on your advisor's face. It was priceless. A middle-aged man with a receding hairline, holding a pink love letter addressed to my dearest fairy Evelyn. He was completely stunned on the spot. Evelyn's lips curved upward almost imperceptibly. You still have the nerve to say that, she muttered softly. You got me called in by the counselor, asking if I was involved in a teacher-student romance. What happened then? What happened after that? I pressed on. Later, I told him that was just an anonymous admirer of mine with poor eyesight who mistook someone else. Ha ha ha, poor eyesight. I laughed even louder. The atmosphere seemed to loosen up a bit, and Evelyn also lifted her head. She glanced at me and said, Then do you remember the first time you came to my house for dinner? Of course I remember. I immediately replied. Your parents cooked a whole table full of dishes, but I was so nervous that when I tried to pick up a piece of spare ribs, it flew off and smacked right onto the family portrait hanging on the wall, perfectly covering your dad's face. My dad's face turned green on the spot. Evelyn couldn't help but laugh, her eyes curving into crescents. The fact that your dad didn't kick me out right then and there was already saving face for me. And also, she grew more animated. Do you remember our first trip together? You insisted on taking some artistic, dramatic photos of me, but just as I struck a pose, a wave crashed over and swept away my newly bought straw hat. Didn't I dive into the sea to fish it out for you? Ended up not catching the hat, and I almost got swept away by the waves myself. And you mistook the hotel key card for a bank card, stuck it in the ATM for ages, and asked me what the password was. You're not much better yourself. The first time you cooked for me, you couldn't tell sugar from salt, and you made me a plate of tomato and eggs so sweet it was almost cloying. That was on purpose, to test if you really loved me, and you nearly set the kitchen on fire. Was that on purpose too? No, that was an accident. We went back and forth, airing each other's dirty laundry, from silly things during our dating days to the ridiculous daily life after marriage. Our voices weren't loud, but everyone in line around us was looking our way. Even those gloomy faces couldn't help but crack a faint smile. It was as if we weren't here to get a divorce, but to perform a comedy routine. As we bickered, we both ended up laughing. After the laughter, silence fell again, but this time it wasn't awkward. Instead, it was filled with an indescribable sense of nostalgia and reluctance. Yeah, between us, there were so many silly and funny memories. How could it all come down to just one little thing? We had come this far. I looked at her, and she looked at me. In each other's eyes, we saw a flicker of hesitation. Couple number 3, Harrison and Evelyn. Just then, the cold, mechanical voice from the loudspeaker called our number. It was our turn. The announcement was like a bucket of cold water, instantly dousing the warmth and memories we had just summoned. Evelyn and I both flinched. The eyes around us focused on us once more. It's your turn, Brad whispered beside us. I looked at Evelyn. Her face had turned pale again, her lips pressed tightly together. I stood up, my mind a tangled mess. What should I do? Should we really go in? Once we step inside, fill out the forms, sign the papers, and stamp the seals, she and I would truly become the most familiar strangers. No one would ever bother me while I played games again, and no one would ever make me that sickeningly sweet scrambled eggs with tomatoes. The thought alone made my heart feel as if an invisible hand were squeezing it, leaving me breathless and suffocated. I can't just leave it at that. I have to say something. I took a deep breath, mustering the greatest courage of my life, and just as I was about to speak up, honey, actually, ding-ling-ling, Evelyn's phone rang again. At the most inopportune moment, just as I was preparing to turn the tide. An interrupted confession is more frustrating than constipation. Evelyn glanced at the caller ID and frowned. It was her best friend, Bianca. She hesitated for a moment but answered anyway. Hey, Bianca, what's up? Her voice sounded a bit hoarse. On the other end, Bianca's loud voice was clear as day, even from a distance. Evelyn, oh my god, you finally picked up. Where are you right now? I'm out, Evelyn replied vaguely. Out? What are you doing? I'm asking about that social feed activity of yours. How's it going? Bianca's voice sounded even more excited than mine. Social feed activity? Isn't that the collect likes to get a divorce thing? What's there to ask? Evelyn's expression grew slightly uneasy. It's, okay, what do you mean, okay? Bianca roared over the phone. I mobilized all my relatives and friends, even my elementary school tutor. Do you have any idea how much effort that took? Now everyone's asking me, when's the fulfillment happening? You need to give a definite answer. Pronto. I was completely baffled. Fulfillment? What fulfillment? Fulfillment of the divorce certificate? Can you even buy that in bulk? Evelyn's expression grew increasingly grim. She took her phone and walked to an empty corner. lowering her voice. Bianca, keep it down. I'm dealing with something here. Dealing with something. What could be more important than this? Bianca gave her no chance to explain. How many likes has that post of yours on your social feed gotten? Let me tell you. I contributed at least 50 myself. Is that enough? Does it meet your number? My mind went blank. Isn't divorce just 5 likes? How did it inflate to 50? That's enough for Evelyn and me to divorce 10 times over. Evelyn's voice trembled with tears. It's enough. It's enough. It's been enough for a while now. If it's enough, then fine. Bianca's voice rose sharply again. Then hurry up and tell your husband. Don't keep it hidden anymore. The 7-day Maldives trip. Round-trip tickets for 2 plus a 5-star hotel. When is your husband going to reimburse you for that? Reimbursement for a 7-day Maldives trip. I stood frozen in place. My mind as if struck by a thunderbolt. I understood every word individually, but strung together, I couldn't make sense of it at all. What does this have to do with divorce? Where did this even come from? Are we still in the same country? I stared at Evelyn's retreating figure, an utterly absurd suspicion slowly taking shape in my mind. No way. In a single swift stride, I rushed over and, under Evelyn's terrified gaze, snatched her phone from her hands. Hello, this is Harrison. I barked into the receiver. Bianca on the other end of the line paused for a moment. Harrison, where's Evelyn? Why did you take her phone? Never mind that. What were you just saying about the Maldives and reimbursement? Explain it to me clearly. Right now. Bianca was also taken aback. You mean, she hasn't told you yet? Told me what? I could feel my blood pressure rising. It was that post on her social feed. Bianca's voice grew faint. She said if she got 55 likes, you'd agree to take her to the Maldives. All expenses covered. Didn't she tell you? Get 55 likes to go to the Maldives? I felt my worldview being reshaped, shattered, and then ground to dust. I hung up the phone, my hands trembling as I opened Evelyn's WeChat, found that post, and clicked on it. A gray sky, with the caption, get 5 likes and I'll divorce. No problem. I must be hallucinating. I refused to give up and tapped the tiny gray arrow below the post. Edit history. There was an edit history. I clicked on the post again, checking if there were any privacy settings. Sure enough, at the bottom, there was a tiny, almost invisible icon, a lock with the words visible to some next to it. I opened that group. The group name read, visible only to Harrison. My brain completely short-circuited, my hands trembling. I exited that group, and then I saw Evelyn's real, publicly visible post on her social feed, the same gray sky, but the caption read, been feeling down lately, want to go to the Maldives. If I get 55 likes, I'll force my husband to pay for it. Sisters, my happiness depends on you. The likes list below had exploded, packed with profile pictures. I quickly counted, definitely over 50. Bianca, my mom, my aunt, the receptionist at our company, even old man Wilson from the convenience store downstairs, with his loving family profile picture, had solemnly given a like. The comments section was even livelier. Bianca, sis, go for it. I've mobilized my whole family. Son, you hear that? Take my daughter-in-law right away. If money's short, mom will cover it. Old man Wilson, shall he? Couples need to communicate more and travel together. That's how you keep the spark alive. I stood in the hall of the marriage bureau, phone in hand, surrounded by people coming and going. To my left was the cheerful marriage registration area, to my right the gloomy divorce registration section, and me, a man who just moments ago was grieving over divorce, now only wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. I felt like the world's biggest fool, a pathetic clown who'd been played by his own wife and eagerly played along. The radiant lady, beautiful in appearance and kind at heart. Slowly, ever so slowly, I raised my head and looked at Evelyn. She was staring back at me, her eyes filled with panic, helplessness, and a hint of guilt. Harrison, let me explain. She began weakly. Explain? What was there left to explain? The truth was laid bare before me. She never intended to divorce. She just wanted to force me to back down with a fake social feed post only I could see. And me, this idiot, not only didn't back down, I even liked it. I dragged her to the marriage bureau, held a farewell party with my elementary school classmates, and I felt a surge of blood clogging my chest, stuck and suffocating. At that moment, my life transformed into a colossal, absurd, socially suicidal black comedy. The air froze. Evelyn and I stared at each other, speechless, with only dried tears tracing our faces. No, it was nothing but sheer, ultimate awkwardness, the kind that made my toes dig a 3-bedroom, 1-pound luxury seaside villa overnight into the marriage bureau floor. Everyone in line around us was staring at us like we were aliens, especially Brad, who'd just been calling me bro. His mouth hung open wide enough to fit an egg, his face screaming, holy shit, you can play it like this? Young man, young lady, a kind-hearted auntie nearby cautiously chimed in. Are you two still getting divorced or not? If not, we'll move ahead. My husband's waiting to go back for mahjong. Divorce my ass. I felt my face burning, from my cheeks all the way to my ears. I'd never been this embarrassed in my life. I looked at Evelyn, and she looked back at me, Her once fierce face was now plastered with, "I'm sorry, don't scold me, please let me off." That pitiful look instantly doused more than half of my raging fury. Scold her, for being too scheming, or curse myself for being such an idiot. In the end, it was that, I personally clicked that pushed this farce to its climax. I was both the director and the lead actor, and now that the show has flopped, I, the male lead, have to find a way to wrap things up. Taking one more deep breath, the string in my mind called reason snapped with a sharp crack. Screw face, screw dignity. Since I've already committed social suicide, I might as well go out with a bang. So, under the gaze of everyone at the Marriage Bureau's divorce registration office, and amidst Evelyn's stunned, frozen stare, I, Harrison, performed a shocking act that would go down in the annals of my life history. With a thud, I dropped to both knees, immediately executing a tiger prostration, the movements flowing seamlessly in one breath. Then, in a posture like a starving tiger pouncing on its prey, I fiercely wrapped my arms around Evelyn's long legs clad in black stockings. "Honey, I was wrong." I lifted my head, summoning all my acting skills to squeeze out 2 drops of remorseful tears, and shouted with all my might. The entire Marriage Bureau hall fell instantly silent, every gaze turning toward me like a spotlight. Evelyn was utterly stunned, looking down at me, clutching her leg and crying my eyes out. She froze like a statue. "What are you doing? Get up, quick," she whispered, both embarrassed and frantic. I only held on tighter. "Wife, if you don't forgive me, I won't get up. I'll just grow right here on your leg. I was wrong. I shouldn't have liked that post. My hand was too quick. My brain was squished. I shouldn't have argued with you. Shouldn't have ignored you to play games. I'm a total jerk. What's Yasuo compared to you? Can he cook for me? Can he sleep beside me? From today on, my world has only you. No Happy Windman. No League of Legends. Just you, my dear wife." My voice echoed through the hall, brimming with sincerity and remorse. The onlookers had shifted from shock to spectator mode, many already pulling out their phones to snap pictures of us. The camera flashes were so bright I could barely see. Evelyn's face flushed so red it looked ready to bleed. "Harrison, get up. Have you no shame?" She tried to pry me off but didn't dare use too much force. "So what if it's embarrassing? For you, I'd even throw away my pride." I lifted my head, gazing at her with the deepest affection. "Darling, forget about pride. I'd give you my life. The Maldives, right? We're going. We must go. It's just 55 likes. I'll give you 550 all by myself. The flight must be first class. The hotel must be 7-star. The beach must be private. When you swim, I'll clear the area. When you eat, I'll hire a chef. Just say the word, and I, Harrison, will climb mountains of blades and cross seas of fire without hesitation." My voice grew more impassioned, my emotions more intense. I felt like I wasn't proposing marriage. I was running for president. Evelyn was completely thrown off by this wave of antics. Standing there, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry, her expression management utterly out of control. Get up now." She was practically begging me. "So, do you forgive me?" I pressed my advantage. Forgiven. She nodded repeatedly. "Then are we still getting divorced?" "No, no more." "And do you love me?" Gritting her teeth, she squeezed out a single word. I got the answer I wanted. Satisfied, I got up from the ground, brushed the dust off my knees, and then, in front of everyone, I wrapped my arms around Evelyn, who was still in a daze, and planted a kiss on her forehead. "Let's go home, dear. The air conditioning at the Marriage Bureau isn't as comfortable as ours." Amidst thunderous applause and cheers, I held Evelyn close and strode out of the Marriage Bureau with pride and confidence. Behind us, Brad and his wife were staring at us in shock, and I even overheard the auntie from earlier sighing. Young people these days really know how to have fun. As we stepped outside and the hot wind hit us, Evelyn finally snapped out of it. She abruptly broke free from me and, without mercy, kicked me right in the rear. "Harrison, you lunatic," she scolded, though the smile at the corner of her eyes was impossible to hide, rubbing my backside. I grinned through gritted teeth. "Calm down, dear." She shot me a glare, turned without a word, and started walking away. I quickly caught up and took her hand. It was soft and warm. "Don't be mad. Look how exciting today was," I said with a cheeky grin. "Not only did we experience the whole divorce process, but we also saved on the fees. Your mom even sponsored us $200. After deducting the transportation and bubble tea, we still made a profit of over 150. We got both substance and face. This round wasn't a loss at all. Honey." Evelyn finally couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. She turned her head, the sunlight spilling across her face, her smile brighter than the sun in the Maldives. She used her other hand to pinch my ear hard. "Harrison, I'm telling you, not a single day less in the Maldives. And starting today, you're uninstalling all the games on your computer. Got it? Got it? Got it?" I yelped in pain, but my heart was blooming with joy. "Whatever you say is right, my dear wife." In the sunset, a man was being pinched by the ear by his wife, howling in pain yet grinning like a fool. The scene might have looked a bit ridiculous, but it seemed pretty happy.